I was so curious. Why did you actually agree to do this with me?
Why not? I mean, I looked at your channel. I liked the stuff you said, and I thought, why not do it? And perhaps I should be more difficult to get hold of. Perhaps I should be more difficult to do podcasts with.
6 months, yeah.
Yeah, but I think we have an interesting conversation.
So Andrew, tell me, what is this?
This is my father's hand symbol. So my father used to do this when he was playing chess. He would sit there and he would focus like this. And I guess I copied it because that's the whole point of being a son to a father, right? You're supposed to copy your father in all ways and you're supposed to replicate them. And I feel like I've done a very good job of doing exactly that. I feel like that's the exact point of even having a son in the first place. It's them to be a replica of you. Me personally, I want to create 25 Andrew Tates to cause problems into the future. That's what I want to be, a little army of troublemakers. So I saw my father doing it and I copied it. And it's a power mudra. I think a lot of people know that now, but there's
balances the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of your brain as well, right?
Absolutely. And it works. Sometimes, if I need power, it's kind of like Power Rangers, where they get the thing out and then it powers them up. I can just do this and then it's ready for war. So I did it famously when I was arrested. I did it in the police car and I do it very often. And there's been some conspiracy theories, the Illuminati and all these kind of things, but it's interesting to read these. It's very interesting when people show them to me online and they say, look, we think you're one of this team or one of that team.
Yeah.
Especially as I'm trying so hard to tell the world how things actually work. I feel like my arrest, though, has proven that I'm genuine. I feel like that
100%.
The one thing that they made the mistake with trying to take me down is they proved I'm not on their side. So anyone now with a functioning brain goes, okay, well, he's not in their club because they're screwing this guy over. So anyone who's still out there, with their social media platforms and jumping up and down and performing and doing whatever, those are the ones.
But you know how it also is, right? A lot of these people, they think that, all right, this guy is clearly on that side. He's actually genuinely honoring himself and all of that stuff. But there's still some sort of hidden agenda because at the end of the day, people want to say what they want to say and what they believe.
Yeah.
So how do you get past that?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be people who have theories about you. There's always going to be somebody who believes X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But it's the controversy that makes it interesting. Like my brother and I talk about this quite often. You need both sides of a story to perpetuate it. If it's all just one side of the story and it's accepted truth, then it's not interesting. So even my haters who say that I've actually committed crimes, or the people who say I'm not actually a good guy or whatever, and I've joined this team and I'm secretly a controlled opposition, you need both sides because it's both sides and the arguing that perpetuates it. You need people who hate you. You need people who love you. And all my haters do a fantastic job of keeping me extremely relevant, and I have to thank them for that. So I have no concerns for certain people in the world disliking me. In fact, I'm very aware that that's an important side of the coin, and I'm glad they exist.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I can't imagine doing it, right? Because I wake up every day and I have things to do and I have a very busy life and I'm trying to be successful and I have beautiful children and wives to see, cars to drive. I have interesting things to do. But if people want to wake up and dedicate their life towards hating me and trying to take me down, which of course just adds hot air to my balloon, then I'm going to take it. Thank you very much. I mean, you're unpaid members of staff and they do a fantastic job. So
tell me, what is your opinion about India? What was your visit like in Mumbai?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I wish I knew you when I went, and I'm actually going to ask you a question, sir. I want you to tell me what India's like, but because I got there and it wasn't like I expected it. It's firstly, it's not cheap. I stayed in the Four Seasons and I spent the same money in Mumbai as I did in Dubai.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
True.
Which didn't matter, but I guess that just surprised me.
Yeah.
And then traffic's crazy.
Were you as successful as you are today?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
At that point.
It was many years ago. Traffic's crazy. I had no idea where to go, what to do. And I think it's a metaphor for the entire world and life as a whole. It's not where you are, it's who you're with.
Yep.
It's the same for every city. It's the same. Even just to quickly go back, this summer I spent the entire summer on house arrest and I had the best summer of my life. The best summer of my life because there was like 20 of my friends living in this massive house, pool party every day.
Yeah, I was seeing those videos of yours online as well.
Yeah, it was amazing. So it's not about where you are, it's who you're with. I'm sure Mumbai could be a lot better than I experienced, but I didn't know what I was doing.
It's really good. It's really fancy, but once again, like I mentioned earlier, it is the Matrix, right? You have every type of human being over there.
Yeah.
So staying centered is very, very crucial.
Yeah.
You have to be you. You just can't allow yourself to be taken for a ride.
Do you think it has like you're saying it's very fancy. It has like a Dubai vibe if you know where to go. There's all this high-end stuff and high-end bars and these kind of things.
You've been there, you've done that. So you know what that's like. So Mumbai is definitely not a place that would fascinate you anymore. Whereas there are a whole bunch of places in India that you'd love exploring.
Yeah.
Like there's Kashmir. It's beautiful. It's like Romania, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then we have a whole bunch of other places like Rajasthan, Jaipur, culturally very, very rich.
And it's such a big country.
It is huge. It's very diverse.
Yeah.
It is very, very diverse. Like even in Mumbai, you must have seen the Four Seasons, right? Besides that, there's a slum.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's Slumdog Millionaire for you.
Yeah. And you go, I was in Mumbai and people are like, when are you going to go see the Taj Mahal or Taj Mahal?
That's
like,
Agra, yeah.
I'm like, it's far. People think India is all like, yo, you just go to Mumbai and you see it all.
Bro, the
You need
minute
a long time there.
minute you're out of this whole mess that you're presently in,
Yeah.
I'd like to bring you over to India, man.
And I will accept that invitation, but I have a feeling this mess is going to morph and change and continue for quite a while.
Do you think you actually call this upon yourself at times? Because I've always seen that, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy also.
Yeah, people say words are powerful, and I understand that. But I also knew what was going to happen. I truly believed it was going to happen, and I thought by preempting it and making it clear that it's all a setup, it'll make it very easy for the obvious thinking person to understand what's going on. So I know that words are powerful, but I have a very interesting view on that, to be honest, because I often say things which I perhaps shouldn't say. I don't know if I'm goading the universe. I don't know if I'm challenging them, but I don't operate from a realm of fear. So I'm just not afraid to say certain things, whether they come true or not. But I knew what they were going to do eventually. I knew it was going to happen. There was no way that they were going to allow me to continue to be as relevant as I was, saying the things that they don't want me to say.
Correct.
And that's what the law has. That's what the government has. That's how the matrix works. They have law. That's all they have. A government solution to everything is law. If you go to a government and say, we have a problem, they say, okay, pass a law that fixes the problem. So, and then they have the legal system. So if you upset them, they just get the legal system. They set the dogs on you. So it was very obvious play, which I knew was going to happen. And now it's evolving, and we're going to be in this process for quite a long time, and multiple countries are involved, and who knows how long it's all going to last. And the great thing about all of it, the truly amazing thing about it is, at the end of it all, whether I'm innocent or guilty, they can't give me cancer. They can't put me in a car crash.
Right.
They can't do anything that's genuinely I mean, there's people out here in the world today who are experiencing terrible things all day, every day. The worst they can do is put me in jail. And I had a pretty good time in jail. Yeah, I mean, I have no problems going to jail. It doesn't bother me at all.
I'm not going to ask you any jail questions, man. I've seen that. I've studied that too
Yeah,
long.
it's been done a bunch of times. But
yeah.
The punishment for all of this garbage really isn't scary. In fact, it's quite... I know this sounds insane, but the idea of going and spending some time in jail, I find quite tempting
And reassuring.
Well, it's just it would be a unique experience that I'd get to look back on and get to enjoy, and it'd be a different level to the map of life. And I have no problems at all going. I will not be sad for a single second. I think the frustration of the initial arrest and not knowing it was going to happen was different. But now that I understand it's a possibility, I'm completely at peace with it. In fact, I'm kind of tempted by it. It'd be very interesting to go. I think it'd be a cool story.
You don't get to come to India then, man.
I'll come India afterwards. That's the thing. I'm a young man, right? I'll come India afterwards. I mean, I'm not that young. I'm 37. But
Bro, I'm 35.
See, you're young.
Yeah, I am.
I'm old.
No, you are, bro. He's 37. He looks younger than me.
I'm 37, but I often think about this, and this is, you can think about life this way in general, but when I'm 42, all this junk will be over. I'll still have hundreds of millions of dollars. I'll still have beautiful children. I'll still have all my houses and my cars. And so none of it matters really in the grand scheme of life. It's not like I'm going to be losing the best years of my life. It's not like it's going to last for a very long time. Even if they try and stitch me up, I'll be in jail for a year or something garbage. So nothing, it really isn't a concern to me. And I guess sometimes I feel old because I can't fight like I used to. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes I feel very young, reaching the level of success I've reached at only 37 years of age.
Yep.
And you go, and sometimes I go to these meetings with other Bugatti owners, or I used to go and look at development properties for these 20, 30, 40, $50 million apartments. And everyone there is 50 plus, 60 plus,
Dubai?
gray hair.
Yeah, this was in Dubai?
This was in a few different places,
Right.
Dubai and Germany,
Yeah.
a few different places. And I'd walk in there and be the youngest man by a mile. And I'd say, oh, maybe I am still young.
Story of my life, man.
Yeah, well, there you go. And usually youth comes with a lack of wisdom, but I try very hard to make sure that's not the case. And then you have unlimited energy in your youth. And if you're wise enough at a young age and you have the energy of youth, then you can can do a lot of things.
How did you overcome all this fear of yours? Because, doing this interview right now, I don't want to call it an interview. I'm just going to call this a tete-a-tete, right?
Yeah.
Because it helps me calm my nerves as well.
Yeah,
I'm not going to make it that elaborate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm telling myself, how has this man actually overcome all of his fear? I'm overcoming myself right now in the midst of this interview with you.
Well, I'm not sure I've overcome all my fears. I think that fear actually increases your ability to perform in many ways.
Correct.
I think that being scared is a fantastic thing in the right scenario. If you're not afraid, then you're not sharp. When you walk along the street at night and it's dark and you're a little bit intimidated and you're a little bit scared because you're in a bad part of town, your hearing is sharper. Your eyes are sharper. Your reactions are quicker. So I think that fear is a fantastic thing in the right scenario. There are certainly times where you need to be calm and you can't let it overcome you, but I think fear is a fantastic thing. I do have fears that I have not yet overcome, and I don't want to overcome them. I do have the fear of not being able to take care of my family, for example, if the Matrix attack is successful. I do have fears of, I call it fear, but this actually sounds quite arrogant. It's not a fear, but I love now, and I'm very accustomed to having anything I want all of the time. I would hate to go back. So I do wake up and think, I don't really feel like working today, but Andrew, you can have anything you want all of the time. If I want a Kernan's egg, I buy a Kernan's egg. So yeah, I am motivated by the lack. I'm motivated by the dark and the yin and the yang. I'm not motivated by the light. When I buy a brand new $6 million car, I'm not motivated to work harder because I have a $6 million car. I'm motivated to work harder because I would hate not being able to buy a $6 million car. And I feel like perhaps my whole life I've been motivated the dark as opposed to the light.
But is that an attachment to lack in some way?
Still? I think it is, but I think it's just an attachment to the dark. I think the masculine essence is. Even when I was a professional fighter, I wanted to win. But the primary reason I wanted to win is so that I could make him lose. It wasn't about me winning. It was about him losing. He spent 8 weeks calling out my name and telling the world he's going to beat me and telling his wife, don't worry, wife, it's going to be okay. I'm going to win. I'm going to pay for the kids. Don't worry. I love you. I'm training so hard. And he's told the whole world he's going to beat me. So by forcing him to lose in front of his family, that gave me satisfaction more than winning itself. I've always been attached to the dark of the world. I feel like the dark of the world has always motivated me. So on the yin and the yang scale, I have a lot of light and I have so much beauty and I have a very blessed life.
Yeah.
But it is because I've been so deeply in the dark and understand the realities of how the world works. But that's just always been what motivated me. If I want to, once again, put it down to something asinine like buying a car, if I want to buy a Kernan's egg, I don't care about driving the car. I just want other people to not be able to have it. And I just want to be able to say, look, I can spend $6 million on WhatsApp in 10 minutes.
Who are these other people?
Other rich people who have to think about it or finance it or contemplate it or sell a house.
Right.
I just want to be able to like, bing, bing, took it, ha, ha, ha.
Instant gratification, impulsive, what?
I think it's just about the others losing. I think the world has tried very hard to breed this out of men, but I am unapologetic about it, and I'm not afraid to admit it, that I am absolutely interested in conquest. I'm interested in peacocking my feathers and being the best. I'm interested in showing off. I'm interested in alpha male high. Look at me. I have everything. I can do everything. Look at me. This is who I am. And they say that this is all bad and toxic masculinity, but that's, again, just a massive psyop. The entire world was built off the back of toxic masculinity. All the high buildings in Mumbai are built by men who want to prove themselves and say, look what I can do. I can literally go and build a building that's 100 stories high. You need an ego. And I'm ego-driven and ego-fueled, and I don't let it control me, but satisfying my ego makes me happy, and feeling pride makes me happy.
How do you prevent the ego to sabotage you?
Well, the ego sabotages you when you allow it to delude you. And this is what a lot of people do, because they'll have an ego without the real-world accomplishments, and then they become deluded, and then they become non-competitive. To remain effective, you need to be very firmly in the real world. I have a massive ego, but I'm also a realist. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm bad at. I don't apologize ever for saying what I'm good at, and I will sit here and admit the things I cannot do. But as long as you have feedback that you're going to take on board and you have a good team around you and you're also self-analyzing all the time, then you can remain a realist and an egotist, and then I think you'll do very well. The masculine ego has built the entire world. It's the reason nearly every single man ever went to war and conquered anything. The masculine ego, in fact, it's very interesting. I was talking to a girl the other day, and I was saying that men crave adventure more than women. She was saying, oh, no, I like adventure. I don't just want to sit at home. I like to go out and explore things and go to restaurants, etc. I said, no. What you like to do is run around, go into restaurants and and going shopping. You call that an adventure. Masculine adventure is the men who decided to go to Antarctica and freeze to death. There's no shopping. There's no sushi. Yeah. They just felt like they had to do it to satisfy their ego and to place their names in the history books.
True.
So there's something inside of every man that feels that, and they try and breed it out of men because they're afraid of that masculine spirit, because that masculine spirit is hard to conquer, and they want to conquer us all. But I have no problems admitting that I am motivated by the dark of the yin and the yang, and I have no problems admitting that my ego motivates me and that I'm motivated by pride and I like to feel proud. And I do things that allow me to feel proud. And as long as I stay realistic and I don't become egocentric, then I feel like it makes me as competitive as possible.
So you keep upskilling yourself?
Well, you have to always push the limits, right? What's the point in living otherwise?
What are you doing right now to just keep yourself up?
Well, this is the thing. It's in general. It doesn't matter if you go to the gym and you try and lift more weights. It doesn't matter if you try and make more money that you can't possibly spend.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you need more beautiful children.
Yeah.
You always need something to do, right? And you always need somewhere to push. They say when you retire, you die. I would argue that's probably true. Or sharks die.
No, that's true. That is true.
Of course it's true.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of men out there who perhaps are battling with themselves because the matrix and system has told them, no, you're not supposed to think that way. You're not supposed to be that way. You're egotistical. You're driven by pride. You should get rid of all that. And you should, I don't know what, become soppy goo instead, just some porridge mess that the matrix can program. But no, you're supposed to wake up and look in the mirror and say, this is my name. This is who I am. I'm going to be the best version of myself. And everybody's going to respect me. And I'm going to force them to, because that's the way the world works. Respect can be squeezed out of people. They don't have to like you. You can't squeeze someone liking you. You can't grab space-time from the universe and force everybody to like you. But you can force everybody to respect you, whether they want to or not. All of my haters respect me. They sit there, this guy's so bad, so bad, so bad. But they can't say I'm unsuccessful. They can't say I'm not intelligent. They can't say I'm not rich. I'm still worthy of all their time and attention. They've dedicated their lives to me. So I've forced them to respect me. If I was a nobody, then they wouldn't be reporting on this garbage case of mine. So you can force respect from people. And this is actually most observable with women. There's a whole lot of women who are dating men they don't even like.
Yeah.
And they're sleeping with men they don't even like, but they respect him.
Because it's the security that they offer, right?
That's right. The security they offer and the respect. And they can say, I don't even like him that much. In fact, I hate him, but I just do as he says. Why is that? Because they respect you. So I'm driven by that. And I guess, I've talked to psychiatrists, and there's some psychiatrists who would argue that it's insecurity to feel like you need to prove yourself to the world all the time. And I think that's part of the psyop. They convince you, you're insecure if you want to prove you're capable. If you want to prove that you're different and intelligent and interesting, you're insecure.
They always say that you're born abundant any which ways. Then why is the rest of the world poor?
Well, there you go. Yeah. But they say you should have no interest in what people think about you. That makes you insecure. And that is the largest psyop in history, to wake up and say, I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to be strong. I'm not going to be interesting. I'm not going to go out there and test myself. And I'm not going to put honor on my last name, because I would hate for people to think I'm insecure. I'm secure. So it doesn't matter if you think I'm a loser. And it doesn't matter if I am a loser, because I'm just going to sit at home and I'm secure. No, it's not insecurity. It's called duty to your last name and honor. And that's just another one of the many different tentacles inside of the psyop octopus, trying to snatch any motivation left from the masculine spirit. If I was a man who was unsuccessful and I hadn't met my physical capability or my financial capability or my mental capability or my spiritual capability, I would be insecure. I would sit and say, this is a failed version of who Andrew Tate could be, and I'm not happy with who it is. And I think that every man should be like that, so he gets up off his ass and does something.
But how do you have such incredible self-worth? Obviously, it was instilled within you because we are the sum total of our parents, right? In the first 7 years of our life.
I think so, yes. But also, competence is confidence. I think they go hand in hand. You're going to be confident at doing things you're good at. And I understood I had to get good at things from a very young age. And I was challenged from a very young age to constantly test myself in endless competition. My whole life has been competition.
Correct.
It was chess tournaments from a very young age.
Yeah.
And then it was professional fighting. My whole life's been a massive competition.
Right.
And I understood that there's winners and losers. And that's how the world operates. To this day, right now, it's the same thing. And you just get good at the idea of competition. I think there's a lot of people out here who don't realize they're in a fight, or they know they're in a fight, but they want to ignore the fact they're in a fight because they don't want to have to accept that they're losing. So they wake up and say, oh, I'm just a man living life.
Bro, they're too comfortable.
They're too comfortable. No, you're
not.
Bro,
I was 140 kilos myself. Like, I was a really fat kid.
Yeah.
I lost all that weight, but of course, I started abusing steroids at that point of time. I got hooked onto drugs.
Yeah.
That is something that I didn't want to do. But That's what I thought I was. I needed that external validation in my life
Yep.
because I didn't know who I was.
Yep.
Right. I was always trying to be somebody that the world was trying to dictate who I should be.
Yep.
But I had an awakening of sorts myself.
Okay.
And it was fairly recent. And I just transformed into another version of myself where I was able to actually see that this is how this version of me will sabotage a perfectly good situation.
Yep.
I had to sit and discipline myself. I had to be an older brother to my younger self.
Yeah.
I had to do that all the time. I had to become a future version of myself in the present moment by offering gratitude for already becoming who I always knew I could be.
Yep. But what's very interesting is all those bad things you just talked about, the bad experiences, you wouldn't have been able to self-educate without the bad experiences.
Experience.
You need the bad things also, just
Yeah.
as we talked about earlier about haters, and you need the light and the dark and the yin and the yang, thousands of years old. You need the two. This is what's very interesting. The point you made is very, very, very pertinent. There's a lot of people who complain about the bad things that happen in their life, not understanding that without the bad things, you'd have no life at all. You need all of the bad things. You need the mental struggle. You need to go through things which you regret. You need to sit there so that if you've never regretted any action you've ever taken, how can you sit and make a intelligent decision for the future?
You cannot.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
You need to sit and say, well, I felt the sting of regret for X. I don't want to feel the sting of regret for Y. You need this experience. And that's what life is all about. People think that life is just the good times. And this is the massive misconception. Love is a perfect example. Let's use love. Because people think being in love is holding hands and I hold hands and we cuddle in bed. I love them. Love is the whole spectrum. Love is missing them. Love is breaking up with them. Love is being sad they don't text you. Love is the whole circle. There's no up without down. Anything that has the ability to emotionally affect you positively has the ability to emotionally affect you negatively. There's nothing in the world that can only affect you in one direction. Even something as asinine and stupid as an object. We'll go back to cars because I used it earlier. If I buy a car for 6 million euro and it makes me very happy, if that car sets on fire at random, I'm going to be extremely angry. This is what happens. If it's a Nissan, it won't make me happy, but if it sets on fire, I won't be sad. They're directly correlated. Anything in the world that makes you happy that you currently have, whether it's a person, whether it's a job, whether it's a scenario, whatever it is, also has the exact inverse capability to make you extremely angry. So you have to accept this about
You're
life.
quite detached, man. You're quite detached from everything that you also own. You say you love it, but at the same time, you're okay with letting go.
Well, that's because I think I have confidence in myself to get it all back. And that's also because I have quite a lot of emotional control. And then perhaps, maybe I'm a little bit of a sadist. I don't know. But when bad things happen to me,
You love it.
I kind of enjoy it. And I think that maybe it's perhaps I just enjoy it for the story. Perhaps my whole life is not about trying to find comfort. It's trying to find challenges, and it's trying to find stories. I'll be very honest with you. Even in jail, my brother and I kept saying this is probably the best story, one of our best ever stories. That's what life is about to me. And if you were to say to me right now, Andrew, do you want to spend a year living in comfort and flying around the world and sleeping with girls and doing whatever, or do you want to spend a year in a jail in Mongolia? I'd probably choose the jail. Maybe I'm a sadist. Maybe I'm nuts. But for me, it's all about the challenges. It's not about the comforts. That's what I'm interested in, and I want to have stories to die with. So when bad things happen,
But then what happens to your wife? What happens to your kids?
Well, exactly. That's part of the story.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best
All right.
parts.
All right.
What's going to happen to them?
Yeah, dude.
Maybe will she stay loyal? Of course, I'm the top G. But come on. But what happens to her? What happens to my kid? How much did I miss my child when I couldn't see them? How did they get to Mongolia to even come visit me? Was I allowed visits? What did I get in a fight in there? Did I die in jail? Who knows? But this is the whole point. Maybe I'm just addicted to the idea of having stories worth telling, because I think if your life just goes well all the time, you know what's really interesting, because the world's so changed.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you out over here. But have you programmed them?
Have I programmed myself to think that way?
Yeah, programmed your wives, your kids, that this is the that I'm going to go through right now. You guys better be prepared.
Well, I think anyone who's with me understands that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
There's certainly a chance that something bad can happen at any time. They're very concerned. My woman says to me every single night, like, I hope you wake up tomorrow without a police raid. Like, it's just, who knows, right? It's unpredictable.
It's stressful, dude.
And it's stressful for the woman more than me, because I'm at peace with all of this. In fact, I truly enjoy it. And this ties into what I was about to say. I think that, like, I can tell you a story. 10 years ago, maybe, I bought my first Lamborghini. When I bought that Lamborghini, I was in England. I bought it in London. I was still in Luton a lot because my mother lived there. That was talk of the town. everyone talked about it. Everyone cared. Facebook was on fire. Tate has a Lambo. Yeah. It was a big deal. Every time I parked to anywhere, there was crowds around it. Every time I was driving, people took videos of it, etc. And that was in England, a wealthy country. Here we are 10 years later. We're in Bucharest, Romania, technically the poorest country in Europe. You'll see a Lambo every 5 minutes and nobody cares. Nobody cares. So I feel like all the light and all the positive, now that social media has shined so much light on people's lives, and what people do is they curate their lives to only show the positive, right? So you can have people with very normal jobs and basically no money, but if you look at their Instagram feed, they look rich because they've taken that one time they went to dinner and they got the 25 different angles, and they went on 2 holidays that year. And
Bro,
they got all the...
I used to do that years back, but when I had my awakening, I was like, this is... Because now that I can actually afford it, I never even felt the need to put that up on my Instagram.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is the exact point. So everyone's taken the highlight reels of their lives. So all the light has been displayed to the world, and hedonistic adaptation is real. So you need to always up the game. So a private jet, when I was flying on private jets 3 or 4 years ago, it was a big deal. Everyone copied. I mean, jets are jets. Everyone started jumping on jets. Look, I got a jet. I can get, and 20 other people get together and they chip in, they get a jet and they film it. And what I'm saying is, there's only so many levels you can raise the bar in the light. There's only so many levels you can raise the bar. I have the Bugatti, I have the Koenigsegg, I have a jet, I have a yacht, but you can raise the bar up there. That's done. But the dark is a cesspool. It's endless. It's a swamp.
Yep.
And I'm not going to pray anything terrible happens to me. I would never do that. In fact, I pray for the opposite. My point is, at least there are endless stories in the swamp.
You're an explorer. You're an explorer.
There's an explorer, yeah. And I feel like in the light, there's only so many stories. Okay, you get a fast car, you get a nice house, you get beautiful women. Okay, you have some children. Okay, you sit around with your boys, you laugh, you go for a nice drive, you go to nice places, blah, blah, blah. But I don't feel that the maybe it's the pain I'm addicted to. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it has to be that.
Swamp is interesting to me.
That story is done with. You've already mastered that story.
It's done.
So it's the next story that you're looking for.
And yeah, and that's what's so interesting about my current scenario, because you end up sitting here thinking maybe the dark is the most appealing side of it. Maybe that's what I want to happen. But we're going to see. But I think that it's also very interesting if we're going to analyze it from a metaphorical perspective, where if you're a man in the middle and you don't have the light yet, often you'll find the light by jumping into the dark.
Yep.
What does Newton say? They're equal and opposite force. The deeper you go, if we imagine, let's imagine the yin and the yang. Let's imagine there's the line in the middle and you have the light and you have the dark underneath it. If you're standing in the middle, the deeper you'll dive into the dark, it's like coiling a spring. The higher you'll bounce back into the light.
This is what's happening right now.
Exactly. And this is also why I became successful in the first place, because I've always been capable of fighting and going through pain and dedicating myself and doing difficult things and having hard things happen to me and being emotionally regulated. So perhaps what's so interesting about it is, even if I want the dark, no matter how deep I dive into it, no matter how much mess I try and get myself in, I'm just going to end up springing back and having more fans and more followers and more people talking about me and more social media.
Bro, it's the emotional regulation that I'm worried about. I'm like, how the hell does this guy do it?
Well,
how do you manage that?
Yeah, for me, it's relatively easy
because it's a new dark again.
It is, but that's part of the I'm looking for the journey. I don't want the comfort. I want the challenge. I'm looking for the journey. So no matter what bad is happening to me, part of me is always going to sit there and detach myself from myself and analyze it from the third person and say, wow, fantastic. This is going to be a great opportunity for you. It's a great opportunity for you to prove yourself to yourself and prove yourself to everybody else and prove yourself to God. And I think that that's what's truly appealing about life for me. And I don't think it's even that unusual. I mean, people look for adventure. Let's look at those poor billionaires who went on that submersible sub. They have all the money.
Yeah.
They've been everywhere. They've had every position you can have in. They've driven every car. They've done it all, right? So what's left? Well, they want to challenge themselves and take a risk. They knew it was risky. That's why they wanted to do it, because it was risky. I don't find things like that appealing. I don't find the idea of risking my personal safety as regards to going to space or going into the ocean appealing. I find it more appealing to allow God and allow life to put me in scenarios where I need to prove the mettle of my character by absorbing all of the negativity around me and converting it into light. I like the idea of jumping in the swamp and swimming down to the bottom and touching the floor and coming up without a drop of dirt on me and saying, look, that's how bad life can get. Here I am, Mr. Rich and Mr. Successful. So I have a different view of it, but I'm very, very fortunate that I am I mean, I'm sure God's going to give me the scenarios I'm looking for. He's going to give me the good and the bad, and they go together. And anybody at home who is in a negative scenario or in a negative situation who's complaining needs to understand that they need to embrace it and use it as a springboard, because there's no light without dark, and they're equal and opposite forces. I think it's Newton's third or second law. If you push against something, it's pushing back against you. This is how the universe works.
Resistance,
absolutely.
What is will?
What is will? Well, I've analyzed this at length. Are some people born just to be certain ways, or are they trained to be certain ways? Is it nature or is it nurture? I guess you could argue a case for both. If you have a strength of will, then it's, I guess, an illogical obsession with X. And I think that you, as a man especially, should always have a degree of illogicality about you. If you're too logical, the thing is with rationalization and being logical is that you can talk your way out of something so easily. It's very easy to say, why be a professional fighter? I could get brain damage. Is it worth it? No. Why drive fast cars? I could crash. Is it worth it? No. Why? You can very easily rationalize inaction. You can always rationalize cowardice. We just saw this with, right? You had a whole bunch of people who took, because they rationalized it. Where's the paperwork says I should, and the data from the scientists, and they rationalize it, right? So you can rationalize doing the cowardly choice. Being brave is nearly always illogical. So to have strength of will, you need to be an illogical person. And to be a good man, you need to be illogical. To wake up and say, this doesn't particularly make sense, but this is what I want to do.
Bro, that is exactly what I did, because a lot of people said that you've taken all the steroids in the world, but you don't want to take this?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Something happened, man. 2019-20 was a bit of a portal, is what I kind of believe. I think I woke up and I was able to successfully see through what you've been seeing for a while.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And the holes in the matrix. And then you have to sit and say, okay, well, now we know how they operate, and these are the most powerful people on earth, and they have the legal system at their disposal. It would be illogical for me to sit here and argue with them.
Yeah.
But I guess you need strength of will.
You do.
And if you take a man who's not illogical in any way, I think they're not very good at being men. Men are determined by what they believe, and they're determined by their duty and their honor and their illogical obsession with it. And that's what I would say will is.
Yeah. Bro, that's a beautiful answer.
Thank you. I'll take it. Thank you.
Why do you think that the society that we're in at present is purposely trying to emasculate men in general?
Oh, I think that's there's two answers to that.
Yeah.
The first thing is they have to remove the warrior class from society so they can subjugate everybody.
Right.
It's always been the same. When the Romans would turn up and they'd conquer a Greek town, they'd kill all the military-age males, they'd slash all their necks so that there's never going to be a resistance force against their occupation. So they're trying to demasculinize us all because they intend on making us all slaves. And they don't want men who are going to stand up and resist against them, men like me saying things that they don't like. So they want to just basically turn everyone into eunuchs and cucks. So they sit there and allow that that's what they want. They want you to give up your women and give up control of your family and give up control of your children's minds and give up control of your land to foreign invaders.
Yep.
And they want you to just sit there and accept it all. So they have to remove the masculine spirit, because anyone who's remotely masculine is going to say, no, this is my country, my land, my town, my wife, my kids, my house, and you're not going to control any of them, and no one's going to take them off me. So they have to remove that. But also, I think another reason is when laws are made, it's quite annoying that they have to make laws for the group. They can't make laws for the specific. They have to make laws based on the lowest percentile of the population.
Yeah.
I talked about speed limits with this, and it's a very easy example, but I have world champion athlete reflexes. I've done thousands of hours of professional driver training. I have 60 cars. I drive them every day. I am passionate about driving. I have vehicles which can stop at twice the speed a normal car could stop at. The speed limit for me should not be the speed limit for everybody else. I'm better than everybody else in a better machine. But they can't do that. They can't say the speed limit is 50, but Tate can go 100 because Tate is exceptionally intelligent, genius IQ, has an SF90 that has carbon ceramic brakes. He doesn't drink alcohol. He doesn't take drugs. So Tate can do 100 and you have to do 50. They can't do that. So what they say is we have to make a speed limit for everybody. So the 50 speed limit is based on the woman who drinks on the weekends, who doesn't even like driving, who doesn't pay attention, who listens to her music too loud and does her lip gloss in the mirror as she drives. So they have to make the limit based on the lowest percentage of performers.
Right.
a group can only move as fast as the slowest member.
Right.
So when they make any law, they have to come along and say, who are the lowest performers? Who are the biggest losers in society? Because we have to accommodate for these people.
Very, very true.
And we have to punish the other people at the top by making this big group law where you have to accommodate for the losers. So you're saying, why is masculinity under attack? Well, they're coming along saying, well, for the group, what's going to be good for the overall group? We don't want certain people to be monumentally successful. We don't want certain people to be outside of this percentile. We don't want certain people to be outside of this parameter. Let's just make a law for the overall group. Let's make rules for the overall group. And they haven't sat there because, I mean, I have to give feminists, although they're idiots, I have to give them credit. I understand what they're trying to do. Feminists, I understand what you're trying to do, but in typical female fashion, you fucked it up. Because what they're trying to say is, toxic masculinity is a man who gets very angry and is big and aggressive and gets mean and then loses his temper at his wife and beats his wife up. That is toxic masculinity. I agree. So then they say men shouldn't be big and aggressive and mean. But that doesn't work because you need big and aggressive, mean men to protect women. You need big, aggressive, mean police officers and soldiers. So they've come along saying, for the group, we need to make everyone not be big and aggressive and mean anymore because there's a couple idiots who are big, aggressive, and mean and beat the shit out of their wife. That is the wrong solution.
It's a generalization.
It's a generalization. Yeah. It's the generalizations that they're scared of, was they don't understand the best men on the planet are big, aggressive, and mean. Those are the best men on the planet. Those are the men they need most. Feminists need big, aggressive, mean men to protect them for their points of view because they can't protect themselves, meaning they have no point of view without men, meaning feminism's a masculine movement anyway.
It is.
The whole world is a masculine movement because men are the only ones who can defend an idea. If you can't defend an idea, you don't have an idea. So all these women, when they sit on these podcasts and they say, blah, 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 that's all fine. But please understand, men allow you to say these things and men protect you and men protect you because otherwise you wouldn't have an opinion. You'd be absolutely subjugated. So that's why they're trying to demasculinize society, because they're making generalized rules based on the lowest percentile of the population. And then, in a more sinister fashion, they're trying to put the entire world into a slavery or a serfdom because, I mean, they've always been looking for control. The elites have always been looking for control. I don't think this is a relatively new thing.
How much do you think after people like yourself, are they actually succeeding? I don't think that they are, because I think people today are able to successfully at least wake up and smell the coffee.
It's true, but we've moved into a very interesting period in human history, because what used to happen is the elites would try very hard to subjugate. The people would realize they're being subjugated, or they'd rebel, or they'd get upset. The elites would then be ousted and replaced.
Yep.
So if you had a king in charge of a country and there was a peasant revolt and a civil war and he lost that war, he would end up dead and a new king would come. But I don't think that happens anymore because, firstly, the people who are leading us, we don't know who they are, truly. I mean, I can guess, I can say some names, but that would just accelerate my decline. We don't know where they are. They're not geographically stuck to a particular area. So they could be anywhere doing anything. Could they ever be replaced or changed and the new puppet who comes in truly be different? Well, we've seen some attempts with that, with Trump, for example.
Yep.
Look at what they're doing to him.
Another 40 cases.
Yeah, well, there you go, right? So that's an interesting scenario. And it's also a very interesting scenario because we're entering the age of AI. And I feel like usually what happened was the elites would lie to the populace. The populations would wake up because the world is cyclical, right? What we're going through now, I'm sure there's been people who have always believed the world is going to end. I really wake up sometimes, I look around and think this is all about to collapse. It's over. The end times are here. But I'm sure they felt the same in World War II.
Yeah.
I'm sure they felt the same when the Roman Empire was
The
falling.
age of Atlantis, all
Yeah,
of that
I'm
stuff.
sure everyone sat there and thought, this is the end. I'm sure the Romans, when they saw the Roman Empire on fire, saw the barbarians and thought, this is it. This is civilization. It's over now. It's over forever. So we've always felt that way. But I've sit and realized that what would happen is in this cyclical system is that the peasants would rebel against the elites and the elites would be replaced and the elites would come in with perhaps truthful intentions and over time would begin to lie and they'd continue to lie and lie and lie and lie until eventually the population would once again fight against the elites and the elites would be replaced and they'd come along with a version of truth and they'd lie and lie and lie and lie. But now we're entering a period because they've pushed it too far. They've lied too much. Every single thing they say is a lie. Every single system is broken. Nobody stands a chance of getting out the matrix. You're never going to be able to pay off your house. You're going to stay poor forever. Everybody's upset. Everybody wants to rebel. But we can't replace our elites very easily, one. And two, I feel like we've moved paradigm from lying to just brutal force because I think AI is going to be used to force everybody to comply. So it's interesting. In only 10 years ago,
Do you also think that the elite have sabotaged their own situation by building AI?
Well, that's another conversation. Whether AI will become sentient and take them down, I'm not
Skynet,
sure.
right?
Yeah, Skynet. And that's very scary to me. But 10 years ago, if they want the population to comply with something, they had to lie to you and convince you to do it. And I feel like we're now moving into a new age where they don't need to lie to you. They don't need to convince you to do it. Soon it's going to be, we don't care if you want to do it or not. Do it. Otherwise, you're not going to get your food parcel delivered to your 15-minute city pod. It's just going to become brutal force. And they can use AI to do that with police. Once the police are robotic, and once they control everywhere we go, once facial recognition cameras are everywhere, once all the cars are electric, and once the money's electrical, and once a lot of the populace become useless, which is going to happen by AI as well. All the low-skilled jobs are going to be replaced. The average man's not going to be able to compete in the labor market.
It's already begun.
That's right. So it's going to be a form of communism where you need the government to feed you, and they're only going to feed you if you get the injections they tell you to get. Otherwise, you're not going to get your food allocation. And they're not going to sit there and say, you should get the injection. It's safe and effective. They're going to say, you should get the injection or you're not going to eat. So we're moving to a new era now, a new age where they no longer need deception and sugar-coated lies, and they can rely on brute force and brute computation to force you to comply. And I think it's actually the most scary version of this circle. We talked about how the world is cyclical. Never before in history has humanity been replaced. There's always been a human element, and that's now being removed. So I feel like perhaps this is actually the end of the world this time.
Yeah.
And it's scary. And then you have to sit and think, well, how do you protect yourself against these things? And
bro, you better get out of this whole situation before AI actually begins to dominate.
Well, there we go. There we go. And then how do you protect yourself against these things? Well, you need to know people, you need to have a strong network, and then you need to have a whole bunch of money, because money is the stored time and energy of other humans.
But then again, it's about understanding where do you actually allocate all those funds.
Well, here you go. This is exactly what I was about to say. You nailed it. Because now the largest proportion of my net worth and my wealth is being allocated towards building my own machine army. If AI is inevitable and AI cannot be replaced, I mean, if AI cannot be displaced, if AI is coming for all of us, well, I want to control as much of it as possible. That's simple. If they were to say, look, AI is coming to society, it's going to disrupt and displace so many people, and it's going to control the entire world, I'm going to say, fantastic. Well, I want to understand it, and I want to have as much AI as possible under my control and my influence. So I'm working very hard on a bunch of AI projects.
How do you do that? Do you mind sharing a couple of them?
Inside of Hustlers University, inside of my school, we teach artificial intelligence. And I think anybody who doesn't sign up for $49 and learn how artificial intelligence works is dooming them and their entire bloodline to eternal slavery. But we're investing a whole bunch of money in trying to produce AI versions of me. We're trying to produce AI versions of entire teams that
Andrew
can launch
Skynet.
crypto projects. Yeah, Andrew Skynet. No, because even now, my superpower, one of the things I'm best at, is sitting and talking.
Yeah.
I would argue in 50 years, that's going to be completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
We're all going to have chips in our brains, and we're all going to have access to the internet instantaneously, and we're all going to have the ability to put together with ChatGPT the most eloquent speech ever. So my superpower is about to go out of fashion also. So I'm sitting here going, okay, well, can I build a Skynet version of Andrew Tate?
I'm still old school. I'm still willing to learn the old school methodology that you actually provide in terms of communication.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
But it's all going to become obsolete. So what I'm trying to do is just always be ahead of the curve. I want a Skynet version of Andrew Tate, and I want Skynet employees, and I want to use as much AI as possible. I sit and analyze all my companies and literally sit there with my partners and say, how do we put as much AI as possible into this? I'm just trying to be ahead of the curve because it's a certainty.
Correct.
It's a certainty and it's coming. It's amazing to me the average man will sit at home, watch this podcast, understand that AI is a certainty, understand it's going to be used to enslave him, know that his only weapon against it is to have AI or understand AI or use AI to make enough money so that he can at least skirt around the system or be geographically free or move to another jurisdiction and still do nothing. Like it's panic stations, truthfully, for humanity. And I just feel very glad that I'm in the position I'm in, where I am to a degree outside the matrix, at least financially. My brother and I say all the time, we must say it 5 times a day as we walk past each other. Thank God we got out. Because if you're still stuck in it right now,
it's very
absolute
important.
Slavery is coming.
I'm learning as well.
Yeah, it's coming.
I'm not where you are, but I'm close.
There you go. You get there.
Yeah.
Bugatti in Mumbai.
Bro, I can't buy a Bugatti in Mumbai because somebody bought one and it actually got stuck on a speed breaker.
No way.
Yeah, dude, that
Really?
actually happened. Yeah.
Wow.
We have so many speed breakers, we actually have to take a car like that.
Wow.
No ground
I'll have
clearance.
to look that up. Is it on YouTube or something?
Yeah, I'll send you a video.
Okay, send it to me. I want to see that.
But bro, what are the main characteristics of this resistance? And it's like you're building this whole army of yours, right? Like you rightly said, through AI.
Yeah. So, I mean, primarily to resist, I think.
You're teaching people in Hustlers University what is AI, what's it all about. But I'm not really able to I'm not able to phrase this accurately, but you're creating your own army of sorts. But when people actually see this podcast, they're going to catch wind of this and they're going to be like, Andrew's ahead of the curve. He's catching up. So how do you neuter that?
Yeah, I think that firstly, the masculine spirit is the number one form of resistance. I think that's always going to be the case.
Yeah.
It's always going to be men who say, no, we're not going to accept this, which is why they're trying so hard to stamp it out of us, which is why a lot of my work isn't about teaching AI or teaching money. It's trying to teach men to be men again and just say this. You can be a man unapologetically, and you can feel like a man unapologetically, and you can have male opinions and masculine worldviews completely unapologetically. I think that's the most important thing I can do for the resistance against enslavement. But in terms of Hustlers University and the school we've built and the things we teach, it's kind of interesting. To me, it was such an obvious play to launch a school like this because all of the traditional education systems are, one, overpriced, and two, don't teach you anything.
They don't.
They really don't teach you anything. I talk to girls who go to university, and I love to say this. I say, what did you learn today? And they come home and go, what do you mean? No, today. You went to school today.
Yeah.
What did you learn today? They say, oh, I'm studying psychology. No, I didn't ask what did you learn today? They can't even tell you what they've learned.
Bro, my friends in finance, MBAs in finance, they don't know how to make money, bro.
Of course.
It's a frequency that they need to tap into, that frequency of abundance.
Yep.
That's what I tapped into.
Yep.
That's how it just started flowing to me.
Yep.
Then I had to actually learn, how do you actually make money? Because, first you need to start feeling abundant. You need to feel that feeling.
That's right.
If you don't have that.
It's amazing. And people who, I know it makes no sense to people who are struggling, but I have always been that way with money. Like if I had no money, I'd tip my last money. I'd give €50 my last money.
Bro, that
Here,
is me.
just take it. And then you're right. It's a feeling of abundance, and it seems to appear because your horizons are open. You know what's funny? When I was poor, I thought everybody was poor because I didn't know anybody with money. And now that I'm rich, everyone's rich. It's crazy. It's amazing now that I'm rich. All the people I talk to, everywhere I go, everybody has a $100,000 watch. Everybody has a Lamborghini. Everybody has a big house.
It's a paradigm shift. It's a paradigm shift.
It's
man.
weird. Like, everyone's not poor. In fact, everyone's actually rich. Everyone has loads of money.
Right.
And there are people who exist in that paradigm, and that's all they see, especially beautiful women. Beautiful women, to them, everybody's rich.
Yeah.
Everyone they ever talk to is rich. They never spoke to a guy who doesn't have money. In their mind, men just have money. We don't even have to earn it. We just grow it like hair. Just like, oh, you're a man. Of course you have money. Every man I know has money. Every man on my phone has money. All my exes had money. Everyone has money. They don't even think about the fact that we have to go and earn it while they sit around doing their makeup.
True.
But it's true. So it is an absolute paradigm shift. But the reason we have Hustlers University is because traditional education teaches you nothing because it's outdated. The world is speeding up. Everything is happening faster than ever before, including the decline, by the way, because these things are exponential. But the world is speeding up. I did an emergency meeting the other day talking about all the crazy events that have happened so far this year. And we are now, all of our dopamine receptors are so fried. We're so uninterested. Think about it. There was Miami aliens. There was Jews in tunnels. There was a Russian terror attack. Think of all the crazy stuff that's happened. And within 2 days, you're like, yeah, whatever. Boring. Next.
What was your opinion about the Miami alien thing at the shopping arcade?
Well, that's what I mean. I don't even know. I didn't get to the answer of it. No one ever told me. Was it aliens? Was it kids who were having a fight? Why were the police? Right. But all our dopamine receptors are so fried now. The news is happening quicker. The world is happening quicker. Our attention spans are shorter. We all have TikTok brain. Right. We're overstimulated. So how can you have an educational system where you expect someone to sit down there and spend 4 years learning information from 1992 and then walk out of there with any kind of value? The reason we created Hustlers University is because we can add a new campus in an hour. We update it 3 times a day, every day. If you're reading a page or if you're watching a video 3 times a day, every single day that video or that page will change. It's up-to-date, constant, cutting-edge technology. And we have AI, we have crypto. If something else disruptive launches, if they launch some brand new thing I've never even thought of, we will launch a campus on it and teach you how to do it because that's what we'll do instantly. And it's the instantaneousness of it that makes it so valuable. There's no other educational platform like that on the planet. And you need to be cutting edge in all things and you need to be first in all things. If you're first, it's often very hard to lose. If you were the first person to the gold mine, even if you were lazy and you had a shovel and you didn't like the sun very much because you got sunburned, you'd still find some gold. But if you're the last guy, you've now got to dig harder, you got to work harder, you got to do longer hours, all the low-hanging fruit is gone. Most people at home don't understand. If they were to just join Hustlers University and pay attention and go through the lessons, you could make a fortune off the low-hanging fruit. You can make a fortune off all the apples that are easy to pick. You don't need to go to the top of the tree. That's for the person who came last and all the bottom apples are gone. So I don't want to be elitist, but often I do find myself when I see people who say, oh, I really tried, and I know they haven't really tried.
Do you resent them? Do you resent people like that?
I don't think I resent them as long as they're not too close to me. I don't want them in my circle. I can't have anyone who's in my house.
They drain your energy, right?
Yeah, because they steal your energy.
Yeah.
Anyone who's near me who said, I tried and I messed it up, has to go. Because I don't like that negative energy around me because it's sticky. But if I'm out there in life and I'm meeting someone who I barely know and they're telling me how they tried and they failed, partially, like I said, I don't want to be elitist, but part of me makes me feel happy about that. There's no winners without losers. I have no problem seeing losers lose. I'm not a philanthropist. I'm here to help the people who want to help themselves. If you want to stay a loser, I have absolutely no problems with you staying a loser, staying depressed, working in Starbucks. That's fine with me for eternity. I have no problem. I'll drive past the Starbucks in my Lamborghini and I'll look in and I'll see you standing there with your little, I'm a barista with your name tag. And you can stay there and be it doesn't bother me. In fact, I very much enjoy it. Like, I doubt I'd be invited, but if my high school were to have a reunion, for example, I would absolutely love to travel with my Bugatti and my armed guards. And, what did you do? You do that. Very interesting. And
bro, we've actually done that, right?
Yeah.
We've all done that.
Of course, but this is what the masculine essence is. This is why I say they try and train it out of you. They say you're insecure to act that way, or why does he have a fast car? He has small and all this garbage. No, but it's all a psyop. There's nothing insecure about wanting to be the king, proving you're the king, not being deluded, but proving it with real world achievements and walking through life saying, yeah, I'm the man, I'm top G, that's who I am. I earn it, every single piece of it, head to toe, whether it's the physicality or the finances, none of it was given to me. I did it all myself. I'm top G now. Here are all my wives. They all adore me. Ha, ha, ha. You can't do it. Ha, ha, ha. That's what life's about. Waking up and saying, ha, ha, ha. My life is one big ha, ha, ha. And the greatest thing about it is, even if I go to jail, even if something bad happens to me, because I have the ability to communicate, because I have the ability to tell the story, because I'll be non-emotional about it and not affected, because I'll remember it, it will just be another ha, ha, ha in the end. You could put me in Mongolian jail for a year, and I'll come out, and all my haters will be like, ha, 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 you went to jail. And I'm like, no, ha, 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 for you, because I'm about to tell the story and get a Netflix deal, sir.
Right.
So I still win. I always win. I'll reframe it anyway. So that's what life as a man should be. You should be able to wake up every day and say ha 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 to all the people who don't like you.
Dude, we're going to make a documentary on Andrew now.
Bro, that'd be a Netflix would be mad, but they need the views now, so they probably will. Because I think somebody else pointed this out. I can't remember where I saw it, but it's very interesting about Netflix's business model, going back to money quickly. Talking about how much money they spend producing content.
Yeah.
And how quick. And then I watched that saying it was a very short, it was a YouTube short.
Yeah.
About how much money Netflix spends producing content. And then that day I was working all day and my girlfriend was on the couch and she was watching Netflix all day. And by the time I'd finished an 8-hour work, I said to her, what have you watched today? She goes, I watched this series and I watched this series and I watched this show. And I Google up the cost of these series and this show. I was like, you've torn through like $130 million worth of programming in a day.
Yep.
Whereas if you watch YouTube all day, you're tearing through a couple $1,000s worth of programming.
Right.
So Netflix can't produce programming as cost effectively as social media sites can. And in the long term, that's why they're going to lose and be destroyed, supposedly. Cool. And that kind of makes sense because Netflix, you have to pay X amount for, and they have to then go spend so much money. Whereas YouTube, people pay X amount for now to avoid the ads, and we produce all the content for them and give it to them for free. And now they're so spoiled they can delete things if they don't like it. But that's why a lot of people are now moving to just the platform I'm on.
I know.
And I can't recommend Rumble enough to everybody at home. Please go /Tate Speech. You can say anything you want.
I follow you, man. I get emails from you guys.
Absolutely. You get to build your house on stone as opposed to sand. With YouTube, you can build up a big channel and you can upset them and they'll
Me
take
too.
it
Are
off
you
you.
listening? Listen to this.
That's right. You build up a very big channel, you know it's built on rock, you know it's always going to be there. And that's your time and energy and money. You don't want to lose it, right? YouTube might just delete it at any moment. So you should always build up well. In fact, you can sync them so that when you upload to YouTube, it automatically uploads to automatically builds a whole channel for you. So it can be done instantaneously. Been fantastic. X has been fantastic. The free speech veil is being removed from a lot of these agendas and these topics we weren't allowed to previously talk about.
What's your relationship like with Elon?
I've spoken to him on the phone, and whether we spoke privately or not is not for me to say.
That's all right.
It would be unprofessional.
I understand.
However, Elon's in a very, very unique position because he's trying to do the right thing, and I believe he is doing the right thing. But when you do the right thing, you start to learn how many obstacles there are. People say, why don't you just make a website and make free speech? Why don't you just make free speech? And that's the people who say that have no experience in the world.
They don't.
Because everything is complicated. Everything is difficult because now you have legal challenges from all around the world. You have different laws in every single jurisdiction. You have then power structures within your country, like the Senate or the government who are going to try and stop you. Then you have the unofficial power structures like the money and the big banks who are going to try and stop you. And the media machine's going to try and attack you. And they're going to look through your personal life and try and find attack vectors.
Correct.
Everything is complicated. Everything is extremely difficult. In fact, the only time this has been proven, I've been proven incorrect on this point, to segue quickly, is El Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to say to my brother, why don't they just lock everybody up? These gangs are out of control. Society's out of control. There's no way you're going to be able to lock up all of these people without locking up some innocent people. But the percentage of innocent people you lock up will be lower than the percentage of innocent people who are dying on the street or constantly afflicted by gangs or at the mercy of criminals. So it's still better overall for the innocents. I understand there's going to be an individual innocent who ends up in jail who doesn't belong there, but in the generalized for society,
grand scheme of things, it's better to be in there.
Yeah, you have to do something to fix this. Now, as I said, there's going to be one particular innocent person who goes to jail who shouldn't have been in jail, and that's going to be bad for him. He's going to have a bad life story. But for the good of the country, sometimes innocents have to die to sacrifice for the good of the country. Why don't they just lock everybody up and actually fix this? And my brother and I said, well, we've never run a country, so it must be impossible because of Amnesty International. You'll get sanctions against your bank. The Western countries and the Western nations won't allow you to do it because that's going to go against their legal systems and show how ineffective they are. And the media machine's going to attack you, and you're not going to be able to finance anything. Correct. And then the president of El Salvador just turned up and did exactly that and fixed it. And I was like, wow. Because I thought there'd be something to stop him. I thought something would just stop him. I was like, it can't just be that simple. Turns out it is actually that simple. And he also adopted Bitcoin, which is another big FU to the international banking cartel. And because this international banking cartel that would have wrecked him for this initially, they would have taken all his money and sanctioned his country and prevented them from transferring dollars. And
BlackRock has bought Bitcoin like crazy, man.
Of course. Yeah, so crypto's the future anyway, which was a fantastic move for him. But the fact that he just made it simple is an amazing thing. I think it's one of the only times I've overestimated the complexity of a task and believing it was impossible. Perhaps I'm not giving him enough credit because I'm a massive fan of him. I think he's done a fantastic job. Perhaps it was more complicated than I understand. But he managed to pull it off. And Elon's currently in the mess now of free speech is a lot more complicated. Correct. And he's trying to pull it off. But I think he's doing the right thing.
But he has your back.
Well, he's pushing in the right direction.
Yeah.
And nobody's perfect, but at least if you're pushing in the right direction, you're trying to do the right thing.
But Andrew, like, you know so much that's happening. A lot of people talk a lot of shit about Neuralink and all of that stuff. And of course, you've spoken to Elon. I mean, that's not a conversation that I'm going to pry on. Yep. But what do you think of Neuralink?
I'm scared of Neuralink, bro. It's scary.
Yeah.
I look at all these things, they're scary. I mean, if you're paralyzed, obviously it's life-changing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And this is the technology that we're going to end up having, whether Elon develops it or somebody else develops it. That's the way the direction of the world is going. It's just scary to me. It's scary, the idea of having a chip in my brain. That is very scary because who controls that chip? Who can access that chip? What does a hacker do? What does a government do? Is that chip plugged into what? These are all brand new questions.
Right.
We're entering a brand new
the
world.
whole concept of, the...
Yeah, well, exactly. We're entering a brand new world. It's all very scary, but I'm sure that technological advancements have always been very scary to people and they can't be stopped. It's just the way the direction of the world is heading. What can I do besides try and raise my sons to be as perspicacious and strong and honorable and brave as possible? That's all you can do. And allow them, they're going to have to work it out. I mean, they'll have part of my mind. They'll be Tates. So perhaps they'll know things I won't know. Perhaps they'll be smarter than I am and they'll work it out. That's the best you can do. But all that kind of stuff.
We'll install Neuralink.
Yeah.
We'll get the Tate program.
Yeah, well, there you go. See, if I can get my AI, that's right. We can get Hustlers University beamed to your brain.
Yeah, let's do it, dude.
We can get my AI online so you can live your whole life with a Tate in your brain. Imagine how crazy
We got to make it hack-proof, though.
Imagine how crazy you'd go when you try and skip a gym day and stay in bed, and your Neuralink Tate starts calling you
haram,
calling you a brokey. Yeah, it might happen.
see, I've seen a lot of people that are really successful, but this esoteric wisdom that you have is something that a lot of people don't have.
I think being rich is as good as I imagined it to be when I was poor. That I have lived the best life.
You were having a chat with your girlfriend and you also have a lot of wives. So do they not actually get insecure of one another?
You know, actually, this is one of the questions I get asked most often by women and men. You say on these podcasts you have all these wives, and you say on these podcasts you have all these girlfriends. How many wives is it? And do they live together?
Somebody told me 11.
Nobody knows how many women I have, or... So yeah, I'm never lonely. Is my life really the best life possible, or have I just framed it that way? I don't know.